would you buy a Tesla? Like, forget the fact that you don't like Teslas, but
Right.
would you buy a Tesla or would you not because it's Musk?
I wouldn't because I've seen how stupid Elon Musk is and therefore what he's done to Tesla, which was originally a very innovative and interesting company, and he has literally segregated the production, the factory floor and
Yeah.
produced crappier results. So morally and ethically, I'm not going to support a company like that. And the product has gotten worse, and I don't want like I'm too I like road trips. I want the freedom of knowing I can stop anywhere at one of the current gas stations. I am a fossil fuel burning hypocrite. Like that's
Oh
also
yeah, I never
a
thought
reason
about that.
why.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
bloody hypocrite.
I
Oh,
fully
I'm
am.
picking on
No.
you about that every time we're having a conversation now, and you sound
I
like,
have a hybrid, so I get better gas mileage.
oh, that's
I
okay.
at least, yeah,
All right,
exactly. I genuinely like, there's like so many factors to why I wouldn't get a Tesla,
right,
including a bunch of
right.
reasons, but also like there's 17 charging stations in the country. I'm wildly under exaggerating, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Acceptance Criteria, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of how software gets made and how we can all do a better job together. My name is Kevin Thomas Euland, and across the chat from me is Andrew Greener. Say hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Hmm.
We're also here to get deeper on the human elements. I could go on for an eternity about people and how they think about the process of building complex systems, and I can't think of two better people to do that than Kevin and I.
Fortunately, we're looking for third opinions, so if you've got a topic you'd like to come discuss or rant about, drop us a note and we'll see if we can get you on a future episode. You can go to acceptancepod.com/guest and submit your ideas. And a quick reminder, whether this is your first episode or you've been listening for a while, we wouldn't say no to your going and dropping 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leaving us a nice review. And if you want to leave us a bad review, remember the name of the podcast is The Thrilling Adventure Hour. Also tell your friends if you like the show and that they should check it out. Some of the best podcasts out there go by word of mouth, and we'd much appreciate it.
And a friendly reminder that we are always interested in hearing questions directly from you, our listeners, especially for our segment User Stories. If you've got a scenario you'd like help with, whether it's working with a problematic engineering or product team member, trying to navigate the never-ending pitfalls with agile processes, or you just can't understand why your favorite app is evolving away from what drew you to it in the first place, we're here to talk it through with you. You can send those questions to acceptancepod@gmail.com or submit them on the Discord in the User Stories channel, and we might be able to help on a future episode. And we're happy to keep it anonymous so no one can trace it back to you if you end up talking to a coworker or something.
On this week's show, we'll be talking over some recent news stories from the world of tech. But before we get to all of that, let's take a short break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is a segment we like to call Market Factors, where we talk about industry news stories and trends we're observing. Mostly it's an excuse to rag on bad decisions and argue with each other whether some new piece of tech is worth it. So this next one, I don't know. I have a bunch of things that I want to talk about, and there's a version of this that I posted slightly differently. Mark Zuckerberg is a cunt, and I feel like I should be able to post to Meta and Instagram and all of those platforms that unbleeped, because the last 3 weeks of Mark Zuckerberg's actions, now that Trump is in office, have been fucking insane. So, first one, Meta drops fact-checking, loosens its content moderation rules, because Republicans are sensitive little snowflakes who can't deal with the fact that reality doesn't like the ridiculous nonsense that they spout. They have decided to roll back all of the fact-checking that Meta had in place, and now his plan is Meta is going to have community notes, the way that Twitter has community notes, so that the people who are in the vaccines cause autism group are going to put a community note on the bullshit lie that they say? No, it's insane. It is a ridiculous capitulation to the worst parts of our society who don't want to be held accountable for the fact that there are facts and reality, and the whole point of the way that these platforms should be self-regulating is that you have to. It's insane that we've just said, yeah, Trump lies all the time, so you're all allowed to just exist in this echo chamber of of nonsense and spread all of your hateful, harmful bullshit. It is ridiculous that they've done it. They've also lifted restrictions about topics that are part of mainstream discourse, which is the fun way of saying that you can now use a bunch of different slurs because it's in the discourse that trans people aren't real people. And so now you're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want on meta platforms because what? Republicans want to exist in a world where we're allowed to be shitty to one another and Trump's in office and so therefore we can do it? These changes are ridiculous and it's insane.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it. Not because I hate the fake news. I have a hard time with this one because it's just like it's sort of like if you don't like the magazine, you don't buy it, right? Like if you don't like Facebook, like can you just and I'm not a big social user, right? But can they just not engage? Like because I just block people like on X, right? Like I block like maybe 10, 15 people a day when I'm sort of going through the stage of being on X. But yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this one. Not because I'm like a big freedom of speech guy. In fact, I think
Hmm.
freedom of speech really is probably one of the biggest downfalls of this country. But yeah, I don't know. Like I have mixed feelings on this one. I hate the hate speech, but I don't hate I don't like that Zuckerberg was weak and did it because the timing of it was wrong, right? Like that shows a
Hmm.
weakness to me. But I'm not sure I hate the policy change.
The problem is these social networks have a monopoly over communication and the way people interact with the web. So Meta is absolutely on the hook for they had to fire their content moderation teams in Southeast Asia because people were so depressed trying to battle all of the anti-Muslim horrifying things that were being said in countries in Southeast Asia, and it led to genocide and hunting down your neighbors and pointing out to people where the bad Muslims lived in your community. Like, Meta is on the hook for truly atrocious stuff, and that's coming to America. It's already happening with Trump and anti-immigrant rhetoric, anti-trans rhetoric. You're supposed to rat out your friends in the federal government who aren't going to comply with Trump's illegal, unconstitutional orders. You're responsible. Whether you as a liberal want to get off Facebook doesn't solve the fact that your neighbor is on Facebook fomenting a pogrom against your neighbors. Like, it's
Well,
bad.
I know the liberals getting off Facebook doesn't solve it, but
Uh-huh.
until liberals start getting off Facebook, I'm sorry, it's hard to swallow the I don't like fake news, right? Because it's like, just get off Facebook. I mean,
But it's bad that a bunch of people are allowed to ruin our society because they're fed fake news and they believe a bunch of shit where they're now causing measles outbreaks because they think that they should, like, so much of this, if you just, like, the problem is people don't want to reconcile with reality has a liberal bias, facts have a liberal bias, Republicans want to live in an ecosystem and a bubble of lies, and that has real world consequences.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It does, absolutely does. But I think most people's assumption is that they've been lied to for years anyway. Now I know that's sort of whataboutism, right? But it's like,
And that's not true. That's just simply not true. Gen Z and Gen Alpha don't know that ChatGPT is lying to them 3% of the time. The boomers who are on Facebook think that they're reading an article about immigrants eating dogs. They weren't. That was a lie. That's bullshit that leads to horrible decay in our society. Mark Zuckerberg. So the next one, Meta has new speech policies, and here's some stuff you're now allowed to say on Meta, and they think these are the same things. Boys are weird. That's allowed according to Meta's policy. Okay, that's a fine statement. No one's going after, teen boys for being weirdos. The next one, trans people aren't real. They're mentally ill. Gays are not normal. Women are crazy. Trans people are freaks. There's no such thing as a trans child. God created two genders. Transgender people are not a real thing. The whole non-binary thing is made up. Those people don't exist. They're just in need of some therapy. A trans woman isn't a trans woman. It's a pathetic, confused man. A trans person isn't a he or she. It's an it. Mark Zuckerberg's new policy allows all of those things to be said on Facebook because he's a cunt. In my ancestral home of Ireland, cunt's a great word. We're allowed to say it all the time. So my religious belief is I'm allowed to use a hateful word like that and call people that, and so therefore it's acceptable speech. Where's the line in Mark Zuckerberg's stupid fucking head that makes him say, oh, well, 30% of this country is hateful cunts, so we're gonna let them say whatever they want on this network? And basically, we know how horrible things happen. It starts by dehumanizing people. This is what happens over and over again again is you start with dehumanizing language and it turns into camps and fucking horrible things. So, what percentage of people need to be okay with a thing that allows us to then say a word? A bunch of shitty things are now becoming more and more normal because Trump and this MAGA series of assholes have decided it's cool to say slurs. Fuck you. I'm like, why? Why is it cool to be a hateful bitch? Like, why? Why is this a thing that we're enabling?
But the problem for me is like the model used to be a company does something you don't agree with, you stop giving them your business, right? Like
Until 1.4 billion people are users of that company
I
and the
know, but
entire
that's
culture is shaped by them. They have a yeah,
it's hard though,
this
right?
isn't a
Like
startup who has 100,000 users and you can deal with things. This is causing material harm to people.
it
This
is.
is
I don't
yeah.
disagree at all. But again, it goes back to the last conversation. I think we're applying 19th century laws to 20th century to 21st century problems, or 20th century laws to 21st century problems, right? Like, yeah, I hate it. I hate it. But I also live in a country that I've lived in very few countries that truly have free speech. And it seems odd to have free speech and then not have it in a private company that I can just choose to punish by not giving them my business, right?
This is what I'm saying is not once in the last 30 years has a Democrat ever once proposed a law that banned free speech. Democrats have simply modeled better behavior and driven the culture towards better behavior, and reactionary people didn't like being told they couldn't use the R word and wish they could throw slurs around all the time. And so instead of dealing with the fact that the culture was shifting around them, yes, led sometimes by elected Democrats, but never once legally. The Democrats never tried to legally force Meta to do a thing. They tried to influence the culture to do a thing. They tried to say we should all be better. We all shouldn't be hateful pricks who want to say slurs and make people feel like shit about themselves. But instead, what people have done is reactionary voted for Republicans who want to legislate minorities out of existence. Trump just issued an executive order today trying to ban the concept of trans people and trans medical care. So when Republicans decide to legislate against people and Democrats just want to model positive behavior, yeah, I'm not asking the government to step in and tell Mark Zuckerberg to be a better fucking human being. I'm just saying maybe as a culture, we should beat the shit out of Mark Zuckerberg for not being a better fucking human being.
Yes. So that is correct, right?
Yeah.
The world should beat Mark Zuckerberg up by taking their business elsewhere, right? Like that's more damaging to Zuckerberg than anything,
But
right?
as a
It's hit the shareholders, right? Like hit the company. I do not understand. I do not understand at all. Like humans, we just if we wanted change in this country, literally just nobody, half the country just don't go to work tomorrow because it will cost the economy so much goddamn money. But people can't rally, right? Like yeah, this country is sort of like in a weird place right now. I don't side with anybody, even members of a church that I might go to who have any ill feeling towards anybody from the gay community or the LGBTQ. I think I do not understand people who look at other people's lives and say, unless, they're doing something, not drug dealers, right? But to look at somebody else's life and say, this is a problem for me. I do not understand that fundamentally, even as a Republican, right? Like, but I just think the best way to hit these companies that are doing it is, like you say, just beat them up. And the only way to beat Mark Zuckerberg up is to make him pay, right?
Right, but when this is the thing is like, yes, there absolutely should be people trying to get their elderly parents off of Facebook and stop reading the
Well,
crappy things and everything, but it is so ingrained into so many parts of our culture. This was the meme election. This was the social network election of all of the last elections, and it's so ingrained into everything that exists that at some point there's not that much. Democrats already aren't on Facebook. And so where is your leverage when the market fails your ability to have that leverage?
but if the liberals are not on Facebook, right? Like if they're moving away or
Mhm.
they're just not as prevalent there, then doesn't Facebook just become like obviously the families can do their whole we're catching up and the kittens are great, but doesn't it just become the Fortran toxic community with it's like I said before, like it's just the island that all the real
But
scum live in, right?
But
And
when that island is half of the country, and therefore the racist uncle gets to be indoctrinated against
no.
everything that goes on, yeah, of course it
No, no,
is.
no, no. But that's unfair though, because I think you're assuming like conservatives like me are like a tiny, tiny number. But there's a lot of people who fiscally are conservative but socially liberal and hate what's happened to the Republican Party. There's a lot of us.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop the really bad ones from using Facebook to
No, no, no.
weaponize their hate.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you are on Facebook and you may not participate in any of that, but you are being surrounded by that stuff and it will seep into your everyday life if you continue to exist on Facebook as no one puts any controls on it. And all of a sudden you're scrolling through cute pictures of someone's kids and there's a comment dropping a hard R. Like you're going to encounter it just by existing in these
So
networks,
you,
even though you don't seek it out
yeah,
or have it
yeah.
be the majority of your feed.
But that's
It
interesting what
poisons
you
it
just said.
poisons the well. You're poisoning the well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they definitely are poisoning the well. Like,
Yeah,
there's
that's
no doubt in my
bad.
mind. Like, I'm totally agreement with you.
Yeah.
However, what you said is kind of important there, which is like it's going to rub off on people, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like
It shifts the
those
Overton
people,
window.
if they're there long enough to get pulled into that, I feel
That's
like they
not
were
how it
looking for
works.
it.
No, that's not how it works. This is how you shift the window is you make it a constant daily little, oh, we're allowed to say that word now. We can make that joke now. It is the small things that show up and it's the World War II poem. First they came for the whatever and I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
speak up. It is the slow way that this kind of stuff seeps into the culture and you lose progress because it is the small little things that add up over time. It's poisoning
yeah.
the well is bad for us.
Hey man, you know what I mean? I just you said what you said, like they were talking about like at the beginning of the conversation, you were saying like, groups sort of like wanting to exterminate groups of particular types of people. I
Mhm.
just want to get rid of everybody and let AI and machines and this time period right now, I should get a lot of followers in my cult because we are proving to be much, much worse
Uh-huh.
than even I thought.
Yep.
What is happening in this country today? Holy crap. I mean, we're not talking about like Germany after World War II, where it's like, hey, we never got over the first one, all right? So cut us some slack on World War II. We're like 100 years from there, and we got Nazis in America? What is going on? I don't care what race you are. I don't care how much money you make. Like those same people, their great grandfathers or grandfathers could have died fighting real Nazis. It's like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah. Trump got elected and it just opened the floodgates. So the next couple of
was
stories in
it?
here,
Wasn't it way earlier though? Like I'm.
it's been going
It's
on
not
for
just
a
me, but the
while.
Tea Party. I mean, the Tea Party was
The Tea
way,
Party
way.
was, but this is the problem, is the Tea Party was violently racist and was not covered that way. It was covered by the press as like, oh, these people just are
Yeah,
reacting to the law. And it's like, no, they're racist. They hate that Obama is a black man. And literally you can trace to the day when Obama lost the media and a bunch of people's support because he dared say that the cop in Boston shouldn't have arrested the black man who was at his own door. As soon as Obama showed he was actually a black man, not the friendly guy that all the white people could be happy with, it went down. But this has been an ongoing project of Republicans and conservatives for the past 40 years to put themselves into an ecosystem and a bubble of fake news that they could live on. I'm just saying Trump getting elected and exercising his power over these fucking little simps. Mark Zuckerberg is such a pathetic pussy. Like it is just a sad, it's just so stupid what we're doing.
he was that last year.
No, of course he was, but he's fully bent over and just grabbed his cheeks and said, yes, daddy, please. Like, it is just ridiculous. So, Meta has eliminated all of their DEI programs because Trump hates black people. Microsoft and Zoom followed suit. So, DEI initiatives are being rolled back. There's a bunch of executive orders trying to say, yeah, caring about systemic inequality is a thing we shouldn't try to take any action against. Zuckerberg was in a podcast interview where he complained that companies need more masculine energy, as if ask any fucking woman whether or not there's been any actual progress since Me Too, and trying to be mindful of the fact that maybe you shouldn't make the joke about the blowjob you got last night in the boardroom. Maybe you should just be a normal fucking human being.
Who did that? Zuckerberg did that?
Zuckerberg on a podcast. I think a lot of the corporate world is pretty culturally neutered. Masculine energy is good, and obviously society has plenty of that, but I think corporate culture was really trying to get away from it, Zuckerberg said. I think having a culture that celebrates the aggression a bit more has its own merits that are really positive. And it is the MMA tech bro bullshit of a dude who is the least masculine person you've ever seen. He's a fucking dork who should have been shoved in a locker more times and like The Social Network, Aaron Sorkin nailed Mark Zuckerberg. The quote from the bar where the girl dumps him and she says, "I want you to know that the reason why you will be alone in your life is not because you're a nerd, it's because you're an asshole." This guy is a loser of the first degree. Corporations don't need more masculine energy. It has plenty of masculine energy. We didn't do anything to actually, all we said was be a little nicer to people. And that was neutering you. You're just a prick. You're a stupid fucking moron who doesn't know how to exist with other human beings. And it's stupid. Anyway, good news is Google search results for deleting Facebook, Meta, and Instagram apps has been on the rise. The backlash has been swift, according to this article on TechCrunch. Interest in searches related to getting off Meta platforms rose this week, particularly in the last 2 days. Google searches for terms like how to permanently delete Facebook hit a maximum score of 100, which Google Trends defines as peak popularity. Good. Fuck this. This is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean that's what should happen, right? And I just people gotta. I mean, people are gotta like start
No, it needs to be
sacrificing a
collective
little.
action. It has to be, yes, it has to be people hitting corporations where it hurts, and that
Yeah.
needs to happen through collective actions of various types. Also, hashtag free Luigi.
Free Luigi.
Free Luigi.
Who's Luigi?
Luigi, the guy who murdered the United Healthcare CEO.
Oh, geez, dude. I mean,
Listen, listen,
I hate the
hashtag
guy he
guillotine.
killed, but
Hashtag guillotine.
is that really a hashtag right now? Free Luigi.
Yeah. Oh, dude. It helps that Luigi's hot. If Luigi wasn't hot, I don't know that we would be in the boat that we're in.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure if he wasn't hot,
It would
like
not be
we'd
the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the Ryan Reynolds thing. Ryan Reynolds has been
Exactly.
in some good movies because he's good
Yeah.
looking. Yeah, yeah, dude. We're in a really weird place.
Yeah. No, the last 2 weeks have been horrifying, and we knew it was coming.
I don't think the last 2 weeks have been too bad. I just mean the last. I mean the last 10 years.
40 years. Yeah. Yeah.
It's been messy. I don't, and it's funny because I don't hate Trump. I actually like. There's a few of his policies I'm actually okay with, right? Like definitely as a conservative, I'm like, yeah, he's probably closer to me on the fiscal side. But oh man, like it's not really going to be enough that these people's names will forever be guilty of destroying a country for several generations. But shame on this country for letting it happen. Like
Yeah,
shame
that
on this
too.
country for believing its laws were for everybody. Shame on this country for thinking they didn't have a racism problem and sexism problem and thinking we were through all that. Like we are not even close.
Shame on elected Democrats for being stuck in the 90s and not knowing how to fight all of this. Like, Nancy
Yeah.
Pelosi, probably one of the most effective speakers of the House in terms of rallying her party and passing legislation without having many defections. But the 80-year-olds in charge of the Democratic Party let this happen, and it's time for a full teardown of that party, too.
Totally agree. I think we're in better hands right now with worse supporters. But honestly, there's just a lot of people just done with the status quo, right? Like
This is the problem, is like no one voted for Trump taking a full executive god emperor approach to doing anything. They thought he would reduce inflation and make egg prices cheaper because they wanted to believe the lie, and they're casual observers of the situation, and that is on the media for not doing a good job explaining what was about to happen. Project 2025 was out there. Everyone knew all of the crap he's done in the last 2 weeks was coming, and the Republican majority in Congress is perfectly willing to cede all of their responsibility and control because they also know that if a Democrat tried to do it, then the Supreme Court wouldn't let them actually get away with it. It's like the entire system is stacked against all of this, and voters are too stupid and uninterested to pay attention to that, and the media lets them get away with it because the media is more interested in getting clicks to their dying websites than they are in actually being responsible for shepherding democracy safely through this. So yeah, everyone's at fault. The whole thing is bad. Hopefully, I mean, I can't even wish for Trump to have a heart attack and fuck off this planet, because then we get JD Vance, who's just as stupid and hateful.
I like JD. He wrote a good book. It's a good movie.
Oh my god, it's a piece of trash. Oh, you
I
whiny
liked
little
it.
bitch. You grew up with a hard life, and so you decide to go and fully fuck the world? Fuck you. Die.
It's like Catcher in the Rye.
Oh yeah, sure. He's a idiot without the savant. Yeah.
Oh
No.
boy, dude.
This one's gonna be a bleeped out episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lawsuit. This is the lawsuit episode.
Listen, Zuckerberg has made it clear, if you have a religious belief that you should be able to use a slur, then you're allowed to use a slur now, apparently. I need Zuckerberg to tell me what's the percentage of people who don't like the slur before it's not allowed on the Meta policy. So Mark Zuckerberg's a cunt, and I'm not going to bleep that on Instagram.
It's a bad word, man.
It's
That's
a bad word. It's a
It
pretty
is.
bad one. Yeah.
I mean, we use it in England. It's a really bad word sometimes. It's an okay word sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes we'll use it with a mate, but there's
It's a
no
pretty
bigger
bad one.
word than that in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must be pissed.
I'm very pissed.
Yeah, I can tell. Free Luigi, man. Jeez.
Yeah, free Luigi, absolutely. It helps that he's hot. This is an old article because this I don't think anyone cares about this anymore because so you can tell how long it's been since we recorded. But have you heard about the drones in New Jersey? Everyone's obsessed with the drones in New Jersey. I
Yeah.
can't quite tell if this is just people don't know what a plane looks like through their phone, and everyone experiencing the world through their phone means no one no longer knows that, like, yeah, a plane has three little lights that flash on the bottom of it, and they're kind of blurry when you try to take a photo of it with the iPhone. But like, there's been entire Senate investigations to try to figure out, is there like a weird drone mystery happening in New Jersey of all places? Like, I don't understand what is
Yeah.
going on. Though, or aliens are landing in New Jersey, so they're gonna see what they've got and turn around and go home.
Yeah, I this reminds me of other conversations we've had, right? Where that to me is the danger. Not danger. That's the stuff I can't avoid, right? Like it's on the news.
Right.
Like I can choose not to go to Facebook for the stupidity, but like it was like when do you remember that thing in Miami, like the portal and the alien?
What?
It was like 6 months ago, a year ago, there was like this news, big news, this cops, like squad cars all over the mall in Miami, and people from the 2 months solid they had video of these aliens that came through this portal. I mean, dude, it was national news.
What? I
Yeah,
don't, I
national
mean, I
news.
try to avoid a
It,
lot of
but
news.
but dude, the people who created that, they need to be put down. And the news stations that covered it, they need to the producers need to be let go. Like anybody who touched that is guilty. Like
But this is the thing, we're going to be inundated with these deep fakes of AI videos trying to convince people that stuff is real. I think the drones are probably a combination of, yeah, guys, you live under the Newark airport, and yeah, some people fly drones around, and you've got like footage of things, but it's not aliens.
yeah, people. Again, like there's just some disbelief when I'm talking to people. Sometimes I don't get into these conversations online anymore because of it. Like if you go to Reddit, the trash pile that it is, and you go to the UFO channel, like the thread, some of those guys are nuts. Every single thing in the sky is
Right,
from another planet. It's like,
right.
oh, it's a metapod. Metapod from, you can tell. Look, this one looks just, it's like, dude, it's a
It's a
friggin'
blurry
balloon.
B-52 bomber that it's a
Yeah.
sorry. Yes,
It's
it
a
looks
gender reveal balloon, right? Like,
right.
they will post anything and defend
Yep.
it. And then if you push back, it's like, oh, he's a
Yep.
government agent, like patrolling the boards, trying to sew. It's nuts.
I
People
do
are
like
nuts.
that they flew like half a dozen flat earth conspirators down to Antarctica where the sun doesn't set, and in the flat earth theory the sun must set based on like how they've convinced themselves. So a bunch of flat earthers were like, "Oh, okay, being in a little Reddit bubble actually was bad for us now that I can see with my own human eyes that this is how the planet physically works and all of my theories were wrong. Okay, actually maybe that's true." Like this is the problem with these little bubbles of information, and AI is not going to help that.
Well, actually, I'd argue this is my problem. This is my problem with Trump, right? So I'm not
You're just your
anti-Trump.
one problem, just your
No,
one
no, no,
problem with
no.
Trump.
Well, it's not one problem, right? Because it's like 95% of what comes out of his mouth, right?
Right.
Like the bullshit, right? You know me. Like I have a problem with stupidity. And so it's not just what Trump says. It actually bothers me more that these people believe it. Like, I
Right.
mean, there's some really dumb people voting. Yeah, the model's broken, dude.
Yeah, we critical thinking skills are at an all-time low in this country.
Yeah, and the drone thing for me, I just don't understand. I feel this way about the most mainstream media these days. Like, one, the editing is horrible because, like, finding spelling mistakes on CNN shouldn't happen. But by God, CNN, like,
That's what happens when you fire people and you have it be reduced to three people and two of them are using AI to do things. Of course you're going to have
oh well,
those things fall through the
I'm
gap.
okay with the spelling mistakes if it's AI. Like,
Oh, yeah, okay,
it's a
sure,
machine
right.
that is 2 years old, basically. So it's a 2 year old doing
You're
a
making sure that the guy in charge of CNN gets a $35 million bonus next year, and the result is you fired 30 people who actually made the news run relatively effectively. And it's stupid and bad. It's anti-worker. There's no benefit to it. There's no cultural or societal benefit to it. So why are we allowing them to do it?
Yeah, we gotta put AI to work so we can fix it. It's gotta.
So it can hallucinate on 3% of news stories. Yeah.
It's not the destination, right? It's the journey for AI. It's gotta.
No, for you it's all about the destination. You
No, no,
don't care about the
no. For
journey.
me, it's
You
about the
want to get to the
destination. But
destination.
AI is going to get better along the way, right? Like the people in 100 years are going to be arguing on podcasts about the quality of AI, but they ain't going to be arguing like we're arguing about the fundamental hallucinations. They're going to be arguing about something else. Like, no, it fucked up the DNA strands. Go check. See, like it'll get better,
No.
right? Humans won't, not without the cataclysmic event.
Yeah, it's not good.
I have no faith, dude. Half the
No.
so you say it's half the country. I think it's less because I'll respect my fellow rhinos, right?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, there's a lot of really stupid people.
It doesn't need to be half of the country that are stupid. It is that
They
half of the
both.
country is on Facebook and will be simmering in this hateful stew. So the fact that the 10% are allowed to be so exceptionally hateful means you inundate the non-hateful people and you shift the window of what's acceptable. We had shifted the window. Will and Grace and Ellen and a bunch of things had shifted the window. Like the culture had evolved and gotten better and less mean. And you don't need to be actively cruel to be inundated and surrounded by people and be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't speak up. Maybe that's a thing we're allowed to say now. Like it's just, it doesn't have to be the majority of the people to have an impact on the majority of the people.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. I struggle with it though. Like I
Yeah.
really do. Like I struggle breaking the system. Not breaking the system. I struggle the system going that direction unless the law goes in that direction too.
But that's the thing is we didn't need the law to go in that direction. The 90s and the 2000s didn't need the law. We were able to exert cultural influence and shape people. Bill Clinton didn't do a damn thing. Bill Clinton signed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. This was a thing that we were able to do, and that's the thing that's that's the hypocrisy of it that's the most annoying to me is Fox News and all of conservative media lies to people and tells them all of these horrible things that are happening, but it's just because your neighbor didn't want you to be such a prick and wanted the world to be nicer, and then Republicans show up and they don't try to do cultural influence, they try to legislate rights away. So the two sides are not equal. One waged a war of cultural influence, and the backlash to that has been, let's make it illegal for trans kids to get, medical attention. Like it's an, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the type of asymmetrical, it's asymmetrical warfare. Democrats fight in the culture and win and lose. Republicans show up and try to pass laws that make it illegal for black people to vote. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway,
I'm
we
going
should
to
wrap
ask you a
up the
question
episode.
after we stop recording because it's a tough one for me,
Okay.
but it'd be interesting to get your take on it.
Okay.
Because I think it correctly describes some of the conservatives' problem with the liberal, not the societal change, the way it's handled by liberals and what.
But this is we
gap.
should talk about it now. We should talk about it now, which is
Okay.
conservatives react to being scolded, and they react to the way that one shitty person who was liberal handled the situation. They overcorrect for, well, a Harvard professor said a really stupid thing to their classroom of 19-year-olds, and it made them feel bad about whatever. Like, the reaction against critical race theory and DEI and all of this stuff is like, oh, my white child in Alabama was made to feel bad that their great-great-grandfather owned people. And it's like, okay, I guess I could find softer words to make you grapple with the systemic stuff that's left over in Alabama as a result of his great-great-grandfather owning people, but sorry that I didn't say the words to you, you fucking snowflake. Like, sorry that we didn't talk about it correctly, but the thing that we were asking you to do was correct problems, and you don't want to deal with the problems. The reaction has been an overreaction to being asked to be nicer and to deal with the fact that things were bad. But like, Jesus Christ, are you so sensitive you can't handle like a little bit of grappling with the reality of the situation? Sorry that 3 people tried to make you feel guilty. Maybe they were wrong. I'm not sure they were, but fine, maybe they were wrong. But the thing we were asking you to do was good, actually, and you don't have an argument against that. So I don't get it.
Where do you stand on the this one I have trouble with.
Sure.
Where do you stand on the athletics argument?
It
What's the
is-
swimmer? The swimmer.
Yeah, Michael Phelps is a genetic freak. Michael Phelps is a person.
No.
This is
no,
my point. No. This is my point.
Okay.
Michael Phelps is a genetic freak, and if you want to say that somebody who had X chromosomes originally and now, or had a Y chromosome and now is trying to compete against other people with X chromosomes, then what you're asking for is genetic genetic filtering of sports participation, and Michael Phelps shouldn't be allowed to participate in the Olympics. He was genetically guaranteed to be better than people. So the idea that a 15-year-old is going to go through all of the things you have to go through as a trans kid just to beat the girls on the girls' swim team, that's idiotic. This isn't a thing where they're doing it because they think they're somehow going to get the gold trophy by competing
No, no,
against
no.
girls. Like,
No, no,
this is
no.
the thing that's goofy, is there's
But
no.
that's adding the social media spin on it, right? Like I'm not talking about the the Trump supporters or the knuckleheads who are gonna say, oh, guys are gonna deliberately, go do that so they can win. Like I don't necessarily have an opinion on people who think that, right? But what I mean is, like, there are going to be instances where there are people who are correctly saying, like, I was born and I'm a different like I physically and physiologically might have differences about me. However, like, there are pieces of me that physically put me in advantage over men and women, right? Because, like,
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with gender and the trans experience. That is true of children who are born intersex, and their parents, when they were 4 days old, talked with the doctors and they're like, this person has XXY chromosomes.
yeah,
No. This person has XXY
I'm
chromosomes,
not
and
doubting
so we're
that.
gonna raise them as a
I just
boy
don't
or a
think you're
girl.
answering the
No,
question.
I'm
Like,
I'm getting hold on. You're interrupting me. I haven't made my point. So what I'm saying is there are 1,000 situations in which gender is not the marker. The girl who is just simply genetically happens to be more muscular because her dad was whatever and her mom was whatever, but they're going to attack the fact that the stereotype is going to attack her for being black and therefore be more athletic, and therefore it's unfair to all the white girls. The girl who is white but has Michael Phelps as a dad is going to do better in the swim meet than the girl whose dad is just a random frickin' Joe with an office job. So gender is not the issue here. The thing that's determining sports performance is 1,000 factors. And so signaling out the trans girl who wants to be on the swim team because her XY chromosomes is no. If you're going to do that, then why are you not? It's like weight classes for wrestling. If we're going to say that what we want to do is use genetic profiling, then there are going to be XX chromosome girls who should not be in the same category as other XX chromosome girls, because genetics are so vastly different that what you're asking for is genital inspection for no fucking reason.
no,
If what you're
no,
concerned no, if what you're concerned about is
no.
if what you're concerned about is an unfair genetic advantage, then you need to categorize XY boys differently and XX girls differently within themselves. There are
I
girls
mean,
who are
they
just.
do. They do in the spots where it matters. Like,
Yes, so then no, that's what I'm saying is if you're an XY girl who wants to participate in a
so
sport.
you've done it then. You created a new group, not a gender group. You're saying, like,
But then no,
that
if you wanted to
swimmer,
say if
she
diving,
would be
if
in her own group.
But no. What I'm saying is the fact that you don't do that today for swimmers means you are okay with the genetic variance of boys and girls, putting them all in the same category. If you think that Michael Phelps is a problem because Michael Phelps shows up to an XX chromosome match, then what you also think is that there's a girl who's XX who has a genetic advantage because she's simply taller and stronger and does better. So if you want to go down that road, then you should be saying all sports should have categorization. And not all sports have categorization. Some do. It's unfair for boxers and wrestlers. So they categorize people that way.
But some of them were categorized by default based on gender when there were two.
Which is a meaningless distinction. Why do you care about that distinction? If what you're saying is
Because it's not really a gender distinction. It's the
that's
recognition
exactly
that
what I'm saying is
there's no female tennis player that's going to be the top male tennis players.
just not true. Literally, they had the battle of the sexes in the 70s and she kicked his ass. So actually not true. Serena Williams
Actually, it
would
was
wipe
one of
the
the Williams
floor.
sisters who said it. One of the Williams sisters who said it. Like, there's no way any of us are going to beat a guy.
If you want to go down this road, then why aren't you saying all sports are co-ed? And what you're doing is
No. People like
categorize
me
people
are.
the weakest. Yeah, that's fine. So then the weakest dude should be in the category with an equally weak woman, and
Yep.
the strongest woman should be in a category with an equally strong dude. So
And I'm
that's
good with
not what
that.
they're trying. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to
know.
punish the trans kid and say, "Fuck you. You're not real." That's
No,
bullshit.
but the The challenge for me, the challenge, and goes back to the evolution conversation, is the speed at which Democrats expect change is not psychologically possible. You're not going to change generations' minds that are set in a different time, right?
Do you
Like,
know how I know you're wrong about that? Because up until 1940, pink was the color for boys. This is a myth. You all have invented a myth that your current culture is
but for
millennium
educated people,
longs.
Kevin, pink is still a color for boys. Like dumb people get led
Yeah,
astray, right? I'm. It's unfortunate we're in a country with quite a few dumb people, right? But like,
yeah.
pink is not a color for boy or girl. Like I wasn't like sure most of the girls' toys were pink. I've been wearing pink my whole life and never had a problem with it, right? Like there are smart people there's smart conservatives who know, like, yeah, we need a new category. We need co-ed. Just put them all in together.
But they're not the ones who are in power in Tennessee and Oklahoma and writing laws that punish trans kids. Your argument that Democrats are somehow moving too fast is actually that your argument is Democrats are too smart for the morons in this country. And what do you
No,
want me to do about that?
no, no, it's that this is typical Democrat, right? There's no answers. It's just, well, the system's not broken. Let's just keep investing in it. It's like, no, actually, what we should do is start to break down the categories, right? That allow people to be competitive. And you can choose, again, you can choose to watch it or not, right? You don't want to watch co ed football on a weekend? Don't watch it, right? They'll get paid accordingly. That USA women's versus men's argument, easy argument for me. If you make the most money, you get paid. And the women were super successful. So I'm hoping that they continue to get paid, their pay increase. But I don't believe that sportsmen who bring vastly different revenue streams should be paid the same because they play the same game. I just fundamentally don't believe that. Like, it doesn't in the men's game, it doesn't happen. Nobody's getting paid what Messi gets paid because he's just better.
Sure, I guess your original point was Democrats are moving too fast, but there
But
is
that's it. That's another example where the Democrats, most liberals will argue, well, the U.S. women should be paid the same as the men's because they won the World Cup, they're a better team. And I'm like, but they don't bring in the same amount of revenue, right? They should have, but they don't yet. But they're also like 20, 30 years into the evolution of the women's game. So where are they going to be in another 10 years? I don't think it'll take 100 years to close the gap on money, but there's more people watching the women's game now. But I don't subscribe to sportsmen should get equal pay for playing the same game. Actors don't get paid the same for acting.
well, I don't know what
Good
your point
actors, bad
is.
actors, like I just
15-year-olds on the track and field don't get paid at all. So what I don't know
no, I'm
what
just
this
saying,
argument
like
is
if
supposed to
you
be.
bring in 20 million.
A 15-year-old is not bringing in 20 million.
I'm not
What is
talking
the
about that.
point
I'm
of
talking
this
about the
argument?
women's USA football team. I'm saying liberals want, oh, we got to just pay them equal. It's like, that's a quick change. Like, how does the economics work on that? How much revenue do they bring in? Where's that money coming from? Like, but it's just like overnight, we just got to say, and there are things that overnight should absolutely change. Should gay people be allowed to get married over fucking night? Should it be ever dangled as they can? No, never. But there are some things that are going to take time. Like, and I think the gender in athletics needs better ideas than just what we have right now, which is just let it happen with no considerations for how other people feel. And then there's definitely people on the other side of the argument who are just toxic as hell, right? Like,
But this is what I'm saying is the argument, the people who are pushing back against an XY person being on the girls' team are not interested in solutions to that problem. They are weaponizing their bigotry into law to punish people that they disagree with. They're not interested in
but
a
why don't
solution. No, no, no. Liberals could have shown up and been like, hey guys, by the way, gender's a spectrum. So what we're going to do is convert all of your football and tennis and swimming and everything that doesn't have, categories. We're going to start doing weightlifting tests to figure out which category your kid belongs to. You think the toxic dipshit in Oklahoma whose weak little son gets put on the team with 5 other girls wouldn't have burnt the school fucking down? It's a fantasy world that you think liberals could have ever approached this in a way that would have been accepted by the bigots. So the progress happened. You're in a world where you're reasonable and you think there are reasonable people. The reasonable people aren't the ones legislating trans kids out of existence.
I'm not, but now like we have the same result then except people are dying, right? Like there's that much hate now that Americans have killed
But
Americans
that's
in the name
blaming
of
the
the current.
victim for asking for equality and then being told you didn't ask for equality the right way, so I'm gonna make it legal to murder
No,
you.
no, I didn't say the right way. Well,
You
yeah,
absolutely said the
on
right
the
way. Yeah.
athletics thing, the right way. I just
Yeah.
fundamentally think we need to find a better answer than let's just leave it the way it used to be. The way it used to be might not have been right, right? Like,
But the only
but the answer is not just leave it the way it was and ignore.
But the answer was, let us participate in the way that the system works today. And the response wasn't, oh man, you're pointing out some really interesting things that we should figure out that the system is fundamentally broken and we should shift things around. The answer was, fuck you, Tranny, you're not a real person. So I'm sorry that the liberals didn't respond to that.
No, but that's the NCAA though, right? Like, I mean, you gotta lump some blame on the athletics associations who weren't like, because even if they'd done the way it played out, that still could have been a better sort of campaign to like support these athletes, right? Even though I disagree with the way the system is today, they still could. It's the same problem a lot of people have with immigration, right? Is there reply is they don't have a problem with immigration. They have a problem with the lack of immigration policy. So, like what Britain did was drag people from their homes halfway across the world with no infrastructure to support their religious needs, their education needs, their cultural needs. And then we wonder why our society is completely messed up now. There's no planning, no recognition. This is not for half the country going to be an easy change.
Sure, but no amount of good planning from Democrats would have solved the underlying bigotry. And
It
so we can
wouldn't.
absolutely debate that that liberals should have approached a bunch of these issues differently, but the fundamental problem is they're facing a bigoted culture, and I don't know what the solution. I'm not disagreeing with you that sure.
My overarching argument of all of this is it makes people like me, it makes it hard for me to fight unless I'm with somebody like you. But if I'm with like not I'm not gonna say there's people on the left as well, there must be people on the left as toxic as the right, right? Like whatever.
Sure.
But if I'm taking like the extremist, right, who's hasn't got a decent argument, the minute they start talking about other things, I can't defend that, right? So it's where's the moderates? Where's the good ideas? Where's the cross aisle conversation, right? Like there wasn't. It was just thrust out into the world. And then the toxic fuckers had a field day because not only does it play into their bigotry, it was in their minds, it was forced on them.
Sure, but also the Civil Rights Act didn't happen because black people asked politely. They did sit-ins, they marched, they showed up and made white people uncomfortable. So
Mhm.
there has never been a way of changing bigotry that wasn't like
No, no, no. Wait a minute.
it sucks for
No,
the trans kid, and it sucks
no,
that liberals could have maybe tried to do it
nope.
slightly differently. But really, the way that this change happens, you think AI should fuck the entire world, so you're totally fine with messy approaches to evolution. You
No,
are
no, no,
absolutely okay
no,
with that.
no, no, no,
So
no. I didn't say don't get messy. I'm not talking about those people. You want to get messy? I mean, I believe in messy, right? Like you can search the doldrums of the internet. I tried to do the living room revolution. Like everybody take the day off work, right? Like let's make it messy for these fucktards in Washington.
uh-huh.
I'm okay with things getting messy. The people I'm talking about, they're extremists and they have extreme views. And the minute when it's like how I became a rhino, right? I don't accept the bigotry and racism and sexism. So I'm a rhino. I'm a Republican in name only because I believe
Right.
just the fiscal stuff of the old party, right?
Uh-huh.
But liberals have some really far out people. Like, I'm sorry, you're not going to tax me at the rate some liberals want to tax me at. I just wouldn't work anymore. It wouldn't be beneficial for me to work anymore. Like I just go do something else, somewhere else, right? Like
But this is the thing
there's
Republicans
some
do
real
all the
nutties on
time.
the left.
Yeah, but this is the thing Republicans do all the time is you find the three examples of extremes
No,
and that yeah, oh my god, yes, this is all you do is you go and find the
feminists,
example of the
feminists.
yeah,
That's a whole.
yeah,
That's
oh
a
my god,
hundred.
heaven forbid women not get treated like shit and actually get paid for
No,
doing the same job as other people
Again,
and be
that's why
allowed to
we
open their
agree.
own
I
banking
believe that
accounts.
women should have equal rights, but listen to a modern feminist, and it's not everything they're saying. Like,
But this is
stay
the problem.
sane, and I can side with you. Start talking about the other shit, and like now I'm with you. I look like a dickhead.
But this is the thing is you take five examples of people who say extreme stuff and that is not how the average average woman in this country who calls herself a feminist reacts to things. The average woman in this country still has a boyfriend, still wants to get married, still wants to have kids. You go and
Yeah, but
take, no.
you
I'm
do the
not done
same
making my
thing, and
point,
then
so
you
you don't know
just
what I'm about
say
to
half
say.
the country is in Facebook. It's not true, because I'm not in Facebook, and there's lots of rhinos like me who don't go to Facebook. But you still blow it up and say it's half the country. It's not.
No,
There's a lot of conservatives who
no, my point
are
I made.
just as liberal socially as Democrats.
The point I made was that half the country is in Facebook, and the 10% who poison the well poison the other 50%. So, no, that is not what my argument
But
was.
but you're
I'm,
saying they're weak-minded and they're just going to be easily led astray by a racist. Like,
yeah, people suck.
I mean, they do. Yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
But you're saying you're saying there's 5 examples of Democrats that I've heard. It's not. Come on, I could go online. I can find 5 on one page of YouTube. Like, there's some crazy Democrats out there, dude. That
But
I
so
just don't
again,
want to.
but the point is, unlike Republicans, I don't have elected Democrats trying to do that to you. Even
The
Alexandria
squad are pretty
Ocasio-Cortez,
bad.
the squad want fucking basic don't beat the shit out of Muslims and maybe consider the fact that Israel's committing genocide right now and we shouldn't be complicit in
See,
that.
I don't. That's not what I. That's not my belief.
Yeah, no fucking shit. So the point is, none of them are in a position of power to do anything. The ones who advocate for slightly better things aren't in control. 9 out of 10 Democrats don't believe that, aren't trying to legislate anything differently in your lives. They aren't trying to legislate the NCAA to do anything differently about gender. Unlike Republicans get into office and try to legislate their beliefs on other people. So Democrats having some weirdos asking you to do more than you want to do, who fucking cares? It's not the same thing as Republicans showing up into elected office and legislating their beliefs. So the weird overreaction of the right and the centrists to saying, oh, I heard a crazy Harvard professor asking for a thing I don't want. Jesus Christ, ignore them. You're not on Facebook. You don't want to hear from them. You have the ability to tell people don't go on Facebook and hear the crazies. Don't listen to the weird liberal who you disagree with. They're not in power. Chuck Schumer is not going to legislate your life any differently. I wish Democrats were as powerful as you all think they are to actually materially change your life. They're not.
They want
So,
to take our guns, dude.
not true at all.
You cannot deny.
I absolutely
Democrats
can. I absolutely can. Name a single law, a single elected Democrat who's done anything
Was
about
it the
gun
Obama
control.
law? I think it was the Obama law.
There wasn't an Obama law. You got lied to by right-wing media.
He actually took away more guns than everybody else. It's so
Not at
funny.
all true.
Yeah, it's true, man.
Nope.
You guys have crazy people.
Yeah, but this is the same. You don't get to say that 3 bad cops are a thing we should all just ignore, and actually most cops are good, and most cops aren't murdering George Floyd, and that police are something that we should not try to hold accountable because of a one bad apple. The phrase, by the way, is one bad apple ruins the bunch, but apparently we're not allowed to criticize when it's just a couple of cops doing bad things, but you all are allowed to say that there's 5 bad Harvard professors who do things you don't like, and therefore we should blow up the entire electoral system and reactionarily pull Trump into office. Like, these
No,
two
I
things
think
are, you don't get to say sometimes
think
bad apples are not a problem, but then go and be like, oh, liberals are fucking crazy.
no.
Yeah,
I
same
think
exact thing.
most conservatives would have been okay with Democrats saying there's a few bad apples. I think the problem, and this is not me, like my views on this are probably closer to yours than the extremists on the right? Like, I think the problem that the extremists would point out is they interpreted it, whether correctly or not, as all the police are institutionally racist, right?
Police are institutionally racist. The police, any member of the police union who came out of 2020 and thought that the response of the police to protests in all of those cities was to turn rubber bullets on them, to turn hoses on them, anyone who's still a cop today is complicit in believing that the system doesn't need to change. And so asking for bare minimum accountability resulted in the police going full jackbooted fascist on the citizenry in 2020 is why a lot of people say, yeah, you're complicit now if you're still a cop. So it works in both directions. If all liberals are responsible for what 3 Harvard professors say, then all cops are
I don't mind the
responsible.
Harvard professors. You keep saying Harvard professors.
I don't know.
Like,
That's the
I'm
go-to
okay. No,
the New York Times
they're
centrists hate the
educated, right?
Harvard
Like
professors.
they're generally like, I don't mind somebody's opinion if their policy is just the up. Like, if somebody said, I want the tax to be 5% higher than you. All right, cool. Now we're 2, 3.5,
Yeah.
3. Fine, good. 3% I could live with.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about people who want me to accept one thing, and then because I don't, I'm immediately a tech bro and I'm a Trump lover. It's like, no, I'm not. I just don't agree with that.
But those people have no power, is my point. You
No,
complaining about
I know
seeing a
that.
bunch
I
of
know that.
Twitter
I know that. Da, da,
complainers,
da.
like,
But neither do the people writing racist shit on Facebook. That's my point about them, right?
yeah,
Like,
but they do. They're poisoning the well, and you can argue that liberals are poisoning the well of making people think that you should pay taxes, but no one's going to show up
no, no,
and
no, no, no.
murder
I would
you for
never
wanting them to
compare
pay
those two.
taxes.
No,
Right. That's
I would
right.
never compare those two. But my point being is that I think poisoning the well is the bit that I struggle with. If the well, I guess I look at it like this. My philosophy is if the well is ripe for poisoning, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's my MO all the time though, right? Like, do I want to get to this beautiful world that you talk about where everybody loves everybody no matter what they look like? Absolutely. Do I want technological utopia and not work and maybe I have less? Yeah, even as a conservative, that's hard to say. But, dude,
This is the number one conservative argument, and it is the thing you and I know not to do in our jobs. So you're letting great be the enemy of good. You're saying I can never stop the well from being poisoned, so I shouldn't do anything. And the liberal response is, yeah, maybe we're always going to have a little bit of poison in the well, but shouldn't we mitigate that it's not arsenic death levels? Shouldn't we put
well,
some
hang
mitigation?
on.
Should we put a little bit of gun control?
I
Should
think
we
that's
put a little bit of
unfair though.
safety on the safe self-driving cars? You're saying the well is poisoned, so fuck everyone who drinks from the well.
No, 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 no. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you should. No, no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we are not equipped to come up with a good answer for it. Like community notes and all those little things won't work. And it's great that we try them because along with my other MO, the trip is important. You have to fail to figure out what the right answer is eventually. I do want somebody to come up with the right answer, but I honestly believe when we talk about the gap and things getting cataclysmic, we're sort of on our way there now, right? Like politics might not end the world, but we're sort of at a point where it's like, if this is the lowest of American politics, it's pretty low. Like half the country like voted for a man who has white supremacists voting for him. Like we're in a pretty bad place.
Hmm.
So I want the answer, but the answer to fixing Social Security is not keep pumping fucking money into it, right? Like, I want somebody to come up with better ideas, and Democrats don't come up with ideas. Like, you do, but 99.9% of people I talk to, or the politicians in Washington, are not coming up with good ideas. Here's a good idea. India tried it. Instead of giving people their benefits like weekly, they give it to people in a lump sum and said, now you, right? Like, you're going to have to figure out how to manage your own money, right? Did the experiment work? Who gives a shit? They tried something dramatic. It's like agile. You and I talk about it all the time. The retrospective and changes, like change it to something you want it to be. I think the perception of people like me is Trump and Vance are actually you and I, fucking asshole versions of you and I, fixing a company that they perceive to be broken, that half the country perceives to be broken. So that's probably the attraction right now is like they're willing to try something, or they're saying they're going to try something. Whether they do or not, who knows? Because you never know with Trump what he actually does and doesn't do, right? But I think that's the biggest challenge is we want exactly the same thing and exactly the same, like, I want people to love everybody. I want everybody to be equal. I don't want anybody to be discriminated against. I have less faith in humanity. Actually, it's weird though, because you talk about Facebook, those people in there are weak minded and they're going to be swayed, right? That's the
Yeah.
same lack of faith I have in humanity. So maybe we're arguing opposite sides of the fence today, dude, because that's my lack of faith in humanity right there. That's why the cataclysmic event has to happen. Hopefully it's Skynet. But those weak minded people you're talking about voted for a rapist, man.
Yeah.
Rapist.
Yeah.
Like, of all the dirty crimes, like,
Yeah.
there's very few crimes like you would say, oh, that's even worse. I don't care what your views are. Like, if you're going to church on a Sunday, you ain't voting for a rapist.
Apparently they
End of
are.
story. Like, I
Yep.
don't care who's listening. I'm a conservative, but I'm a newsroom conservative. I ain't voting for a rapist. I won't vote anyway, but
Apparently they are. I'm not going to
unbelievable.
defend elected Democrats, but you're also not. I'm not going to let you not. You don't get to say things like Democrats don't try to propose new things. Democrats have been asking for incremental, tiny little things around things like gun control. Obamacare was a giant experiment and was based on a Republican plan, and Republicans immediately rejected it. So yes, Democrats could be doing more. I wish none of our current leaders were our leaders, and we had more AOCs out there. there. I even will, like, Bernie is a terrible communicator, and I don't think Bernie bros have done any favors for themselves, but at least he wants to try a thing with Medicare for all.
Yeah.
There are plenty of cases where Democrats have tried to say, let's incrementally try a thing. What if you had to pass a background check to get a gun? What if we made sure that domestic abusers couldn't get a gun? What if we made sure that you had to pass crime, you couldn't get a gun? What if you had to actually make sure that people had healthcare insurance so all of our healthcare insurance could come down in cost? They didn't try to fully do a government takeover of healthcare insurance. They did the most market capitalism version of healthcare reform that anyone could have done, and it immediately got rejected by Republicans as radical leftism. None of it is radical leftism. All of it is incremental attempts to fix things. So no, I'm not going to let you say Democrats don't try to do anything. I wish they did more, but it's not true.
But the problem is for the moderates is you're talking about Democrats trying to do things in things we don't necessarily care about, right? Like we're not swayed by, right? Like
Then you shouldn't care that we want to try it. So why are you blocking it?
no. The gun thing, not with my own party on the gun thing at all, man.
Sure.
I don't.
But you don't get to make the blanket statement that Democrats don't try to do anything and that Democrats aren't looking for
Okay,
creative
fine.
solutions.
I'll
Do I think
I'll
Democrats should
rephrase
look
it.
for more creative solutions on Social Security and stuff? Maybe, but Social
Yeah.
Security worked for quite some time. Social Security wasn't able to account for the baby boom and what it would do to everything. But George Bush rightly got criticized and drummed out of doing what he wanted to do with Social Security because privatization is a terrible idea.
I just don't want to pay for any more sperm whale research.
I'm gonna
I'm tired of it.
cut that out
And
of the
Obama doesn't need
episode.
500 hotel rooms when he travels.
Not a thing that happened either. Trump,
Not
by
a
the
thing that
way,
happened. I
charged
know.
you to.
No, this was pre-Trump.
No,
This
I'm
was,
saying
wasn't this?
Trump. No, that was a lie Fox News made up, and then they
Yeah.
conveniently ignored the fact that Trump billed the U.S. government to let the Secret Service agents stay at Mar-a-Lago when he was at his own properties. He anyway. It doesn't matter. Let's wrap up the episode.
Hey, must make you feel better. I'm on your side, man.
Well, sure.
I am. How can you not say that, man? Like, I'm from a mixed race family. Like, I'm friends with gay people. I'm friends with transgender people. Like,
Mhm. But some of my best friends are black is an amazing centrist thing to say.
I know. That's why I say that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: as open-minded as I am, and as I would get my ass fucking kicked defending Raya in a bar fight if it started off because of her gender, right?
Sure.
I would fight alongside her to defend that, right? It's just
You're asking for great and you're complaining about good.
no,
And
I'm not asking.
yeah,
Well,
that
no,
in
but
the case
my
of sports
compliment
and
to
trans
you.
kids.
No, I'm sorry, but if my politician was Kevin Newland, I'm sorry, you're not the same caliber of people that are in office.
Well, sure,
Dude,
no, right.
come on.
Yeah. No, I wish our elected Democrats were much better. Of course.
So that's all I'm asking for. You're saying I'm asking for great. I'm not. I'm asking for
Your entire pitch 20 minutes ago was why didn't you guys roll out an amazing revolutionary sports redefining categorization of people based on genes?
Recognition would have been enough.
This is
hey,
the thing that annoys me with conservatives. That is the most snowflake emotional bullshit. Fuck your feelings
What?
has been your party's thing because we didn't hold your hand delicately enough to get you into figuring out how to be less bigoted. Like you're making
no, it's not less bigoted. I'm
no,
not
you're
bigoted.
making
How
you're
am I
asking
bigoted?
I know you're not. I'm saying you're asking for a more logical approach to fighting bigotry, and liberals have learned from the last 60 years that the way you do it is sit-ins. You piss the white people off by coming to their restaurants and forcing them to confront the fact that you're black. So sure, could have a bunch of things have been different and done differently to try to introduce transgender kids into sports? Sure. But I'm not
But
going to
if that
hold
was the argument, what you just said is the best argument I've ever heard from any liberal, which is
yeah, they're
the
all
only
terrible.
way to get change is to do this type of shit, and I'd be okay with that.
No, I'm
I'd
not.
be okay
I'm not
with
arguing that
answer.
Democrats are terrible communicators. The party is fundamentally incapable of doing things. AOC is one of the rare people who knows how to talk about these things in a way that's human and normal. So no, this is not a podcast in which you will ever find me defending elected Democrats.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, dude,
Sure.
I'd vote for you, man. You would sway a lot of centrists, but
Yeah. Well.
I'm sorry, man. Like, what you got there is inaction. I don't want to pay for any more sperm whale research, man.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us on this episode of Acceptance Criteria. To read articles we've written on similar topics to the ones we talk about here, head over to the blog at acceptancepod.com. You can also follow us on most apps. We're at AcceptancePod. We'll post links to show notes and any articles from the blog over there. I highly recommend following us on Blue Sky. We're now over there too. We're also building a community on Reddit at r/acceptance criteria and on Discord. You can find links to both in the show notes and on the blog, and I promise we'll be moderating the crap out of them to keep it a nice little slice of the internet. For now, I'm Kevin Thomas Euland, and you can find me on most apps at KThomasEuland. That's ULLAND.
And I'm Andrew Greener, and you can find me on most apps at Criteria Greener. That's GREINER. And this has been Acceptance Criteria. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you.